Thank you everyone for joining us today on Let's Talk Business series by Realty and XD. To begin the discussion, I want to ask first from all of you, what are you guys up to and why are you so passionate about Proptech sector in particular? Let's start with you, Sudarshan.
So at Strata, we're democratizing commercial real estate investment as such. So as we've gone deeper into the business, at least what knowledge we had earlier from a business standpoint to now, we see a huge change. Generally, how people's investment journey has been in real estate is been very, very shallow in that past, right? Knowledge is not there, asset management skills are not there, when to exit, when to enter is not there. All the gyan in the world on which stock to buy, which stock to exit, which FD to book, when you should liquidate, etc. But considering real estate, which is 60-70% of one's portfolio, the most underpenetrated segment. So real estate wealth management itself is, I would say, everyone thinks they know real estate, but trust me, they don't know real estate, right? Like even now, after 2 years being in asset management, I would say I still have a lot to learn. So imagine an investor who's a working professional, etc. How much knowledge would they have, right? So the idea is to manage the 70%, 60% of India's wealth in a better way to what they are doing right now. Right? So that's been the core learning, and we are trying to scratch the surface as of now, but we clearly know it's a very long journey for us.
So is that the passion behind the sector?
So two passions. One, definitely to I'm a Marwadi, so the intent is always to make money, and why not make better money for others as well. So that's number one. But second, from a sector standpoint, I think India is on the cusp of, everyone's talking about next 10 years India, next 10 years India. I think Harshad Mehta has been telling since 90s, this is India's decade, right? So I think we have 50% developed market today when we talk about 800 million square feet office stock, 230 million warehousing stock, etc. It's nothing in comparison to how China is. It's nothing in comparison to how US is. So clearly, it is where we see that there has to be someone. It's not just the large fund from abroad who are going to solve. There is a lot of domestic money as well, which needs to be solved in better assets and can be pulled into better deployment strategies as such. So that's what we're solving. So the idea is to work for India, be a party to India, where if the large funds would take 5 years to do it. With our participation, I think we can do it in 3 years. That 2 years is a big difference per se. So focus, if you see our portfolio also focus a lot beyond industrial and warehousing because a solidly underpenetrated sector, huge demand, big demand supply gap as well, which needs to be solved for. Kisi na kisi ko to karna hai. So that is honestly one of our largest passions on can we be ready to be the next China? Can we be ready to cater to the kind of demand which multinationals are going to come in India and solve for us. So that's one of our largest passions which keeps us going next day. Even if you from 0 to let's say 1,000 crores or 0 to 3 million square feet, what is 3 million square feet or what is 1,000 crores in the India story? It's nothing. So that keeps us going. Interestingly, it's not just me, but my entire team right now has a similar passion that there's so much to solve for, and we should get up every morning and go and achieve.
Ashish, as Sudarshan said, kisi na kisi ko karna hai. Is that the reason you have entered in the Proptech sector with your company?
Yeah, actually, the work that we're doing at Propsoch, kisi ko bhi karna nahi hai because it is quite it's a very contrarian approach that we've taken to the business, right? So you have the big names of Housing.com, Magic Bricks, 99 Acres who have solved the discovery problem, right, for home buyers. But no one has really taken an approach of educating the home buyers, ensuring they take the right decisions and they have access to the tools which are required to make the right decisions. I come from a B2B background. I've been with Godrej Properties, Anarock, right? And they were all companies which believed in deep research when they were acquiring properties, right? Or when they were servicing their clients. But I never saw that translate at a ground level to consumers, right? So consumers come and buy at pre-launch, they buy at launch, there's a lot of FOMO, there's a lot of uncles and aunties giving you advice, or the local brokers, they're doing their job, they know these two projects, they have to push it. But there is actually no single source of information in the market where a consumer can get totally unbiased advice, right? So what we decided to do is, and extremely passionate about this, although I've been B2B, I'm really passionate about solving for the consumer's problem because once you do that, that's a real sign of development, right? So today, if you go to the US, all the information is available out there. We were just discussing, you've got MLS in the US where, anyone can go and access data.
Yeah.
The Zillows, Redfins of the world have been built on the back of that data. In India, you don't have anything like that. So why not try and accumulate all that data, process it in a way that consumers can understand, right? And then advise them on which is the right property to buy. And the best part is, a property which is good for you might not be good for him, right?
Right.
So we get into that level of analytics to kind of advise our customers on which is the right property. So and he used the word democratizing, the investment opportunity for people. We are actually democratizing the knowledge which is available out there for the retail home buyers. So that's why we're here.
So Sanjay, what's your take on why your passion is there for this Proptech sector and what you guys are up to?
Yeah, I don't care about Proptech sector. I don't care about market size. I don't care about any of that shit. I just build things that I want for myself that I'm not getting. It's as simple as that. And it just so happens that what I want is also something that's required by a lot of other people. But if it wasn't, I would still build it. And essentially, it's as simple, right? Like, we're building India's fastest and most comprehensive property title search engine. Outside, I think a lot of people kind of refer to us as Google of property title searches. And not that this matters, this is just a spiel that you tell investors and stuff like that. But as you mentioned, earlier, 84% of household wealth in India is in land, property, or real estate, according to the RBI. 11% is actually gold, and 5% is other assets. Now, another statistics that's probably shocking to people, and I myself didn't know, is 2/3 of all court cases, particularly civil court cases in India, are related to land disputes.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you the scale of the problem. But even if it wasn't that, I would still build this. But I don't have any particular, things toward Proptech or things like that. I only build shit that I want for myself. That's why I'm building this. Because this is something I could use. Just so happens I would love it if other people also want it. Yeah.
So in Strata, we use the lingo moat. So what is your business moat?
I think at early stage, if somebody says they have a moat, that's also bullshit.
Yeah.
Speed is your only moat.
Yes.
And that's why we focus a lot on shipping. I would argue that even DeepMind didn't have a moat, and even today, right? I think it's very falsified conception to some extent, and no moat is unbreakable. And actually, the concept of moat and how we perceive it probably comes from social understanding. So for 20 years in the Valley, for instance, Google has been seen and from the outside as this unbreachable wall. But for 20 years, VCs there have been still funding startups to break the search engine business.
Yeah.
But if you ask somebody today, as a founder in India, and you went to a particular investor and you said, can Reliance be disrupted? Or can Adani be disrupted? Most VCs in India would look at you like you're talking shit. The mode as a concept is a social construct.
Yeah.
It is not something that truly exists. But it depends on the optimism of the particular market. It depends on the type of founder that is attacking it. I believe that I am the best person to be able to do what I'm doing. And so there is no discussion about anything else. My mode is my speed and my ability to ship product and the ability to understand my user better than anyone else. And I believe that it exists with us because I'm my user of my own product, like I'm saying. And so therefore I believe I know what my users want. But I don't think any startup in India, no broker, ShareChat, Byju's, Cred, none of these guys have moat, and neither do I. So
quite interestingly put, Sudarshan, I saw your response immediately saying, business moat is not there. But when you go for investment funding, right, all the investors ask you, what is your business moat? So do you agree with this, or do you also not have a business moat for your Strata?
I agree with him. I think the biggest moat is speed. So at Strata, that's been our edge. Like I said, a 0 to 1,000 crore journey in 2 years is a speed. Like I said, from a real estate standpoint, it's still too small, but at least that's an achievement and a milestone which we look at. I mean, I remember in our pitch deck, which we said, we'll do a 1,000 crore sale or an AUM in 5 years, right? And obviously, sounds good, but we know you'll overachieve it. We did that in 2 years, right? So yes, VCs definitely look at more that what can you build which is defensible, and speed is your answer. Because at least in real estate, in Proptech, to put it up, nothing is proprietary to a larger extent. You can create something like that, but who can build something at the fastest and capture the market at a faster pace. But more importantly, continue to keep improving and keep upgrading yourself is the only way you can maintain that monopoly position if you want to look at it. So VC's perception about moat is nothing but can you be a monopoly trader in the business? If you can, build fast. I'm happy to keep funding to ensure that you can be a monopoly, because that monopoly does a hell lot of other things which becomes much easier for you from a business standpoint. So that's my perception. So I agree with him. Because all the other companies, whether it's ShareChat, Byju's, etc., they've all grown at that speed where the size of their business at the speed at which they did has been their biggest moat of sorts. So a VC's perception when they're investing is not just on the business, because let's say when we started, it was an idea. We said, hey, you know what, we'll sell real estate online, people will buy it, they don't have to come and stand at the registrar's office and do it, it can be done everything online. As ambitious as an idea, everyone thought we were a Ponzi scheme when we started, because who buys? Because the traditional way is I need to come, sit and review, and here's someone who does everything, so it's very hard for people to believe. We've disrupted that in the last 2 years by saying people, no, you sit at home or you be at Bahamas enjoying your holiday, but you can invest and start generating rents tomorrow, right? So that is that. So VC looks at that first, but I think that 99% money is on the founder's conviction and his capability or his past execution. That can he do what he's trying to do? Dreams everyone has, but does he has the wherewithals to, or at least a vision to execute that dream? I think that's what they look at in the investment.
True. Ashish, do you agree with this point?
Yeah, so I'm actually very happy that this point came up, because I've been asked like, what's your moat and stuff, and in one very funny call, one of the guys he had just joined that VC firm, and he told me, what would stop me from just quitting my job and doing exactly what you're doing? So yeah, you should try it, So, but that moat word has been actually thrown a lot, and I think there's a certain value to it, right? Because if you're just like someone else, right, then you don't know what you're doing, because you're just making a Me Too product slightly better, and that someone else, if they're more deeply funded, they'll kill you in no time, right? So the way I'm looking at differentiating, I would prefer to use that word, is through intent, right? Our intent is simple, that developers might see our data, they might be like, why have you rated my project lower than that project? So this is the technical information. Now when a consumer comes and sees it, he'll be like, okay, so these guys are really unbiased, right? So that positioning, that differentiation we want to build on, and I'm personally very passionate about it. And the way I'm hiring and building my team, I'm only looking for that particular quality, that you're not here to make a quick buck, you're here to actually change a behavior in the market. And you won't believe it, Kritika, we are doing something which probably even the big boys will find it very difficult to do. We are charging the consumers for this information today, right? Home buyers typically have never paid for information or someone's advice when they were going to buy a property. We are charging them, and people are paying. And once they go through a service, they're like, man, this is what I should have done for my previous investment. So I think that by itself is building a strong, I won't say moat, but experience in the market, and they're going and referring. So most of our business is through word of mouth. We are small, we're not marketing in a big way, so word of mouth is actually coming in a big way. So so when we charge these people and they're paying for it, then we feel like, okay, we are causing a very gradual behavioral change in the market. And after a point in time, this could be the way people buy homes. You no longer have to just go listen to anyone and randomly go and buy a property. So I think the intent and the experience that we're creating would probably be the modes that we'll have. I don't know for how long, but we'll keep pushing and going faster and building better, and let's see where it goes.
So how are you leveraging technology for your company?
Yeah, so great question. So we have two things that we're doing with technology. One is we've created, which is already out there, we have created a marketplace where we put all real estate professionals in that marketplace. So you want to speak to an architect who will analyze your floor plan, you want to speak to a lawyer who will do a due diligence, you want to speak to a Vastu expert, you want to speak to a home loan expert. We've got all of them. We've got around 7 experts, categories of experts, right? And a whole bunch of really strong people in those fields who are empaneled with us. So that is one piece, which is a pure play marketplace. Consumers find us, they avail the services, we get a share of the revenues from that. The more interesting thing which we are going to launch in March is actually going to, we've analyzed close to 500 projects in Bangalore now on 100 plus parameters, right? And these could be as minute as floor to ceiling heights to densities of the projects, right? To micro market analysis and stuff. And we put it there. The beauty of real estate is once you've collected the information, the only things which change is pricing, availability, and construction progress, right? So this data which is there now can be used for someone buying in resale, someone buying in the renting out a house, because that data is frozen already. So the house dimensions don't change, right?
Yeah.
So and once we build that, we are rating and ranking all those project spaces that logic, right? And then we are driving consumers to connect with our experts to say, okay, so you've got this amount of information. Now, do you really want to understand the pros and cons of this project versus that project? And there we bring in the human connect, right?
Nice.
So the technology takes them through all the data, shows them all the analysis, and tells them, out of the 100 projects or 500 projects which are there in the market, these 10 are suitable for you. But in these 10, you better speak to our experts now to shortlist further, right? So that's how we are doing it, and we're really excited to launch this.
Nice. And Sanjay, how are you leveraging technology for Landeed?
I think first of all, whatever we do, we always ask, how do we do something 10x faster? And so technology is actually one of the only ways that helps you do this. So for instance, we spoke earlier about legal assistance for looking at a property. In India, prior to every property transaction, something called a legal opinion is generated, right? And this is a shitty concept in itself. Think of it like a comfort letter that was recently banned by RBI. Basically, a lawyer sits down, looks at a property and says, hey, as long as this dude from 1984 doesn't come sue you with an illegitimate child, this property is clean and good to go.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you get sued, the lawyer has no liability or anything to protect you. If a comfort letter is banned by the RBI, why is legal opinion something valid when the person that's generating has no hook to it, right? And not only that, legal opinion typically for, even the simplest property take anywhere from 1 to 2 months, right? Now, our legal opinion comes out in 3 to 5 days. I'm already 10x faster. And that's because we're using technology to make document procurement much faster. Why does it take 60 days? It's not because the guy is sitting down and making sure that everything is clean and good to go. He's spending majority of that time going out and trying to get all the documents from government offices and through paralegals and asking users. And the worst thing about it is, like, imagine a law firm that you hire to do a legal opinion. They'll give you a requisition list of documents. Guess who has to procure in most cases? The user. You commission them and they give you a document list. You have to go to these government offices, collect them, and then pay them for part of that service, right? And so by being the fastest at document procurement, we're the fastest at generating legal opinions. And when you're able to do that, you're able to do transactions much faster. Whenever you're able to do transactions much faster, generally, people will be more interested in investing. That asset class becomes more liquid. And when an asset class becomes more liquid, you generally have an increase in NAV, net asset values of that, of that particular property, right? And so essentially, we're making everything faster, and therefore making a particular asset class in India much more liquid, and thereby in the future much more transparent and accessible to people. And so I guess that's our answer. We just use tech to make the whole diligence process much faster.
So I'm curious to know, how do you monetize data?
Yeah.
Like, what would be the future of this?
Yeah. I have no idea, right? Like, there are multiple ways to make money on it. So what we realized by looking at this problem is almost the entire tech infrastructure to be able to do this is either underbuilt or unbuilt.
Yeah.
And so the biggest problem for me is not making money. The market space is so wide that money is there for the taking if you're able to solve it, right? And so if you become the central validator for property transactions and say this property is Landeed verified and people trust in it, it's the same reason people pay for a stupid check mark or a tick mark on a social media, right? And if I'm able to do that, that's one way. If I'm able to help property transactions go much faster and there's a rise in asset classes, and I'm able to bring title insurance to India, that's another way, right? If I just want to build a property title search engine where people just want to verify the property and do it globally, that's an area. But that's what we're focused on right now. building a global property title search engine, starting with India, because I fundamentally believe that some countries might not, but India is somewhat in that category. But respect to private ownership of property, both the government and other people, respecting that, and and ownership rights is fundamental for a country to go from an emerging market to developed country. It's not an aftermath that comes in, right? So you have to be able to wonder why I'm able to buy an apartment today morning in New York City and sell it tomorrow evening, but I'm not able to do that here. That's because of the due diligence process. That's because our system is broken, and that's why we're kind of here. So if you basically you're able to make money proportionally to how well you solve society's problems. So as long as we're doing that, I think there's a market there for the taking.
So Sudarshan, how are you leveraging technology for Strata?
So on multiple grounds, right? So one, let me start, let's say from the time of acquiring a particular property. So first is about leveraging data on the price at which we're buying, or the tenants, the rents which they're paying, are they benchmark rents, or is it an outlier in terms of like, hey, everyone's paying 100, but he's paying 300 rupees, and the seller's expecting a capital value on that. So that is one parameter. Again, this because of the access of data which we have vis-a-vis our investors who don't have that kind of access of data. That's one edge of getting that, number one. Second, we built in a whole scientific process of acquisition now. So about 80-85% of our acquisition engine is scientific. 10 to 15% is still variable because there's a lot of other variable factors which go in, but at least that 80-85% is a big learning which we got, and we're trying to improve that even more as we move forward, as we keep progressing. That's on the acquisition side. On the demand side, which is where our investors come in. So the entire journey is online, right, for them, right from doing KYC for them to deciding to invest, then transferring the funds, which is completely online. People have come and given checks to us. We're like, hey, why are you giving checks? It's just online. We create a new virtual bank account for you. Why don't you just transfer the money to that? Then to enjoying the rents, tracking the entire investment, tracking all the property documents, insurances, tracking all the sale and lease data which goes in the particular property after they've acquired on real-time basis, keeping them updated. Real-time for us is a month.
Yeah.
It's not how we said in New York, you can buy and sell.
Yeah.
It takes process for a month for things to get updated in the government's data and for us to get it and give it to our investors. So that is the real time which we're able to offer that to investors. And entire asset management itself. Today we have about 21 properties. Managing that, we built in such a way where I can manage even 300, 400 properties just like that, where everything, it intimates us from the time when property tax has to be paid, insurance has to be paid, when the next escalation is going to be due, the invoice automatically gets generated accordingly. The receipts to investors go automatically. So a whole lot of things there, but one of the biggest learnings which we have got, especially, and this is a huge consumer learning for all of us, is we thought that someone who's investing 50 lakhs a crore might never come through his mobile. He'll go through his website or come meet us and do it. We haven't met 95% of our investors till date, and 85 to 90% of our investors come from mobile. Right, so very interestingly, it's one thing which we failed from our understanding about India in general or consumer behavior for large ticket investments. People are very comfortable investing through mobile application. Right? So we just recently launched a mobile application as well, where they can seamlessly start investing, etc. As much as we've solved for India right now, we've realized that in India a lot of NRI investments come into picture. NRIs want to invest in Indian rupees as well as in dollars. Indian rupees is an evolved thing, but dollars is still not evolved because still a lot of physical paperwork is there. We've solved for that now to some extent, where entire money flowing into India in dollars can be completely digitized, and paying rents to them on a monthly basis also can be completely digitized. So that's honestly one of our biggest modes, if I have to call it that way for now, short-term mode before everybody starts doing once we've cracked the code. But having said that, it creates that huge opportunity because very interestingly, almost 20-30% of India's real estate is bought by NRIs. And even our platform is about 30% NRI investors. So if I solve for dollar investments, and they would love to invest in dollars. Now, considering what they used to get a square feet, now they get 2 square feet with the same amount, or 1.5 maybe because of the dollar increment, right? So that's another thing which we are solving for. And more so, we build the platform in such a way that I can scale this across the world. So while we are solving for India problem, I think democratization as a problem is global problem. Everywhere where there are large assets, REITs as a market is not evolved everywhere, and REITs does not solve 90% 100% of the problem as well. So there is still 40, 50, 70% of the market which is worth solving for. So ensuring we built the platform in such a way where it can be scaled globally, and we can take in Australia, in Singapore, in Middle East, London, and all the other markets as we move forward and continue solving what we are.